We're really going to be focused on the composition of the profitability and then, of course, what the growth trajectory is for the fourth quarter. But it's really about digging into the details on what has driven the profitability for this quarter, because as was mentioned before, right now Tesla is a company that makes money on selling CO2 tax credit to other OEMs, and they're not making money on the base business of designing, developing, manufacturing, and marketing cars. So that is not a sustainable business model. It's a bit of a melting ice cube.
What did he just say? It seems like he just said that Tesla is not making money on their base business of automotives. Let's hear that again.
They're not making money on the base business of designing, developing, manufacturing, and marketing cars.
Yep. Former Ford CEO Mark Fields just said that. I'm going to give Mark Fields the benefit of the doubt since he was the CEO of Ford. But in my opinion, Fields is in denial of Tesla's automotive strength, or just doesn't understand Tesla's business at all. I will discuss the topic of regulatory credits later in the video, but these are pretty much CO2 credits that make up a small portion of Tesla's revenue, which is about like 5%. And I don't think an entire company can be based upon 5%. Hey, what's up everyone? JT here. Welcome to Pineapple Money, where I talk about stock market news and investing for the long-term portfolio. So yeah, Tesla's quarter 3 earnings just came out, and I want to go over Tesla and why I'm planning to pick up more shares within the upcoming weeks. In this video, I'm going to go over Tesla's charts and moves the stock price took today. We'll go over Tesla's financials and summaries from the earnings calls, as well as price targets, and also why I'm still seeing Tesla as a strong growth company in the upcoming future. Let's take a look at their stock. As of recording this on October 21st, the day of Tesla's quarter 3 earnings, Tesla's stock price did close around $422, and they did fluctuate in the after hours, which jumped up ultimately to about $436. Going on a tangent, Tesla, the market maker in general, did price in around $30 up or down for Tesla's stock, in which it did move within that range. Of course, market makers, if you aren't aware, are pretty much individual market participants who help buy and sell your stock pretty much, and then they're the ones who get their order from their brokerages, which sends it back to you. To be honest, I would say that Tesla's movement right here in the after hours, this 3% move, is within the market maker's price, which I would say is kind of tame compared to previous earning movements. Nonetheless, from prior earnings from Tesla, they beat it so well that I'm sure Wall Street analysts probably had expectations coming into this earnings, and of course they probably adjusted accordingly. So that's why you don't see this high big movement, only 3%. I'm sure that also the broad market's atmosphere is also a factor to this, since upcoming stimulus news and of course upcoming elections. But honestly, who really knows in this market right now? So looking at this chart, I would say that Tesla has a habit of bouncing from the SMA right here, and seeing how Tesla is on a slow trend upwards from this news, I won't be surprised if Tesla does open around 440 tomorrow, and honestly afterwards just probably just follow the broad market on political news in the future. Alright, so let's now go into their earnings and financials. Now I'm gonna go into briefly of Tesla's financials and just highlight all the stuff I kind of found interesting so I don't bore you guys. But going to first, let's highlight what they got. So Tesla's earnings, they got an EPS of 76 cents versus expected of 57, revenue of 8.7 billion versus expected of 8.36 billion, and GAAP income of 331 million versus 394. And of course, Tesla reported earlier that they did delivered 139,300 vehicles. All right, let's go into that financial report. All right, so looking at Tesla's financial reports, let's scroll down. All right, so here is the summary. So as you can see, starting off with the automotive side, we can see that in quarter 3, 2020, they did make about 7,611. Of course, this is in millions, so this is 7.6 billion. And last quarter, quarter 2, they made about 5.1 billion. And their regulatory credits are 397 million. Previously in quarter 2 was 428. Total revenue is about 8.7 billion, which we covered before, and last was 6.0 billion, which is a 45% jump from the prior quarter. And total gross revenue is about 63% up, which of course is 2.0 versus 1.2. And total GAAP gross margin is about 23.5%. I did want to go back to talk about these regulatory credits because I know right now, at first I didn't really knew what they were, but I'm going to try to explain them as I did have to find out what they meant. But to my understanding, that what they are is that regulatory credits are pretty much CO2 credits, which is essentially what it means that Tesla gets these credits from manufacturing their EV vehicles, and Tesla gets to sell these credits to other manufacturers who essentially are not manufacturing enough EV vehicles to meet these regulatory guidelines. And now I'm sure there's an argument out there saying how Tesla is pretty much using these regulatory credits as a substantial part of their business, and it's like cheating for the financials, etc., etc. But let's do some quick math right now. So this is 397. So let's take a look. So 397, and we're going to divide that by the 8.7 total revenue. So divided by 8,770, I believe that was it. So it's about what, 4.5%. So 4.5% of the total revenue, which I would not say that's a big part of or substantial part of Tesla's business. And now the last number I want to take a look at that is the operating margin. So right now the operating margin is about 9.2%. It is up from prior quarters, but as you can tell, if we take a look from up there, I believe it did mention that they did have to give out Elon Musk a substantial stock-based compensation from his CEO milestone, and as well as this increase of operating costs could be from their creation of the 2 new gigafactories, Texas and Berlin. And lastly, their cash, of course, which they have about 14 billion today, and they can save it for a rainy day, whichever that happens. And this is always good to see from the previous $8.6 billion right here. Looking at this in total, I would say that these financials that Tesla is showing right now is pretty strong, and it just kind of shows that Tesla is still growing as a company. Now, let's take a look down here. Lastly, as we look, we can see that these are Tesla vehicle deliveries and productions. Of course, Tesla reported these numbers, 139,593, and they produced 145,000. Let's see. I also talked about their superchargers and solar development and deployment. But these are the interesting numbers I wanted to take a look at. So right now, currently, Tesla is manufacturing about 90,000 S and X vehicles. 3Y and Fremont is 500,000. In Shanghai, it is 250,000 for Model 3. And of course, right now, Model Y and Shanghai is being under construction. Development is Model 3 in Berlin, and Y under construction in Berlin. And Texas is under construction for Model Y as well. And of course, for these 3 Cybertruck, Semi, and Roadster, these are supposed to be in development. Right now, it is estimated that Cybertruck and Semi are supposed to be released in 2021 of next year. The Roadster, I believe this is 2022, so it's still a while for the Roadster as well. But yeah, I think it's also kind of interesting right now. So pretty much Tesla is definitely building out their factories out. Alright, so let's move over to Tesla's earnings calls. Alright, so in Tesla's earnings call, it was about 1.5 hours long, and I actually thought it was kind of interesting to listen to. Little bad audio quality, but I'm just going to quickly summarize 2 points of manufacturing that I found kind of interesting. The first one is that Elon Musk really hasn't felt more confident in Tesla today, and he believes that one of Tesla's strengths is manufacturing. In my opinion, Tesla's vertical integration from software to batteries, vehicles, and the machines that actually make those machines that makes the vehicles, I would say that their manufacturing is able to put them in a position of strength and just kind of makes them very competitive compared to other manufacturers. The second thing is that Gigafactory Berlin, Texas is expected to deliver cars next year. I would probably say later in 2021. And those factories will take about 12 to 24 months to reach full capacity. And Musk compared the manufacturing to like S curve, which means that it's kind of slow at first, but will be exponential afterwards. And now, of course, there was definitely a lot more interesting topics that were covered in the call, such as like a potential HVAC system for the house, or somehow maybe making small startups within Tesla. But I found these 2 points kind of more related to the future of manufacturing and what Tesla has planned. But if you do want to listen to the whole thing, I'll leave a link to the description down below so you can take a listen to the call if you want to. Now currently, Tesla's under $400 billion market cap, and I personally see Tesla at a conservative number of $500 per share by the end of the year, especially if they reach their goal of 500,000 vehicles. Now, I'm actually super excited to see where they're going to go next year in 2021, which is why I'm actually wanting to try to pick up some shares before that. And honestly, hopefully some of the shares come around that $420 mark, right? But I do think that the previous third quarter earnings that they just had were pretty strong and kind of just shows how Tesla is in a position to grow, and this growth is honestly just starting. They still have 2 other gigafactories that they're planning to build, and of course, on top of the Fremont and China factories they've already had. One in Berlin and then one in Austin. And in regards to their products, they do have the upcoming Cybertruck, the Semi, and Roadster, but one of the more interesting things that they have planned for the future is of course their robotaxi, which of course is kind of left to our imagination right now until it becomes into fruition. But I personally think that Tesla's share price is kind of irrelevant right now, even before the stock split. Tesla has a market cap of $400 billion, and this will of course will eventually grow. Tesla is growing, and honestly their presence will only get bigger. This growth is just getting started. The current share price is just a representation of what shareholders value growth companies as. And I think they have a huge amount of growth in the future. Alright, so this kind of wraps up my video on Tesla. If you found anything interesting in this video, please don't forget to like down below and also comment. And you can also just comment if you have any questions on whether you should buy Tesla at this current share price or higher or lower. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.